Okay, cut you short, Prince Omar. Kindly answer that question. Why does the government seem not to, it seems to have blinders and it does not see it sees the West Philippine Sea and the small little islets, but it does not seem to see the bigger interest, which is Sabah.
One will never see what they do not wish to see.
That's one point. Yes, yes.
The government, the way I look at it, has not only been using blinders, but deaf and mute when it comes to Sabah.
Okay.
Now, since I am not representing the government, I cannot really answer that. I can only say that I, too, am very, very much surprised
Or suspicious.
or even suspicious that there must be some sort of accommodation, because if someone is silent, you begin to answer, why is he silent?
Okay.
What is the kind of discussion why he becomes silent? Because the other administrations, we're talking of President Diosdado Macapagal and President Ferdinand E. Marcos, were so vociferously, right, strong in their determination to recover Sabah. Why is it that this administration and the other administrations were silent?
Or is silence acquiescence?
Well, silence can become acquiescence, or
Yes.
maybe silence is actually a choice, so that the
Complicity.
yes, that could be it.
Complicity is another word for it.
Could be, yes.
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 For the right policies, for the right reasons, for the right amount. Which one?
Well, I'm sure
All of the above. All of the above.
Yes.
Yes. And it is not far-fetched for the Malaysian government to undertake this kind of an effort in order to try to somehow soften the foreign policy of the Philippines, such that, as they say, the Sabah issue has become part of the back burners.
For a cost of maybe at the most 2 to 5% of 100 billion. They get that a year, right?
Okay.
And it's costing them, I would say, 2 to 5% at the most, one time.
Okay.
It's not a bad investment. Right?
Well, I announced about several episodes ago here with Senator Kitata and Congressman Mitos Magsaysay that 750 million US dollars changed hands. Somebody in Malacanang, a very high official, received that 750 million US dollars and was brokered by one of the sultans in
Johor.
in Malaysia. Oh, you mentioned it. Yes. So these are the considerations there. 750 million US dollars is several billions of pesos.
Well, it is several billions of pesos, but when it comes to the over $100 billion that Malaysia...
Not even 1%.
Yes, that's not even 1%, These people who receive this amount is being shortchanged.
They should have asked for more.
Being shortchanged. So we believe that Sabah was definitely set aside for a very good reason.
Could we now say, because of what the Philippine government has done, they have turned their backs on the Sultanate, they have turned their backs on the real MNLF, they have turned their backs to the Tausug Nation, and yet want them incorporated into the Moro land without considering their most important interest, which is recovering their ancestral domain? Could we say that because government turned their backs on the Christian settlers, that this peace agreement is bound to fail? Can we already start saying that?
As our intelligence reports tell us, that the MILF has been training since 2012.
Okay.
And now, at present, they're asking even their OFWs who are abroad working,
Yes.
come back.
Okay.
They're preparing for something. Now, you said earlier that to incorporate the Tausugs, right?
Yes.
Putting it even nicely, seems like they're going to be marginalized. Or to put it bluntly, seems like they're going to be obliterated.
Yes, and they'll just be purely be part of the Moro land. And in the same token that the Sulu Sea will become
Bangsamoro Sea.
Bangsamoro Sea. Is that Is that an acceptable change of monikers? And
Something is very wrong here because the only winner that we can see here is not the Philippine government or the Filipinos. The only winner is Malaysia.
okay,
Malaysia funded the MILF.
yes,
The paymaster of the MILF is Malaysia. Definitely the orders that the MILF will be following will be from Malaysia. So that's why this word Malay Bangsamoro is now being touted by Mr. Alonto, because this is a premonition of things to come.
okay,
Now, you must know that the territory of Lanao, Cotabato, Zamboanga Peninsula, Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, Palawan, and Sabah are the original territories of the Royal Sultanate of Sulu.
okay,
Now, in 1903, the Governor General of the U.S. Philippine Colonial Administration drew a map,
yes,
and these territories were included in the map drawn by
Okay.
Mr. William Howard Taft,
okay,
the Governor General in 1903. Having said all that, the only winner, as I said, will be Malaysia because you mentioned about Palawan. You preface our discussion about Palawan.
yes,
Now, if Palawan falls into the orbit of the Bangsamoro and it becomes a buffer zone by Malaysia to the return of Sabah to the Tausug Nation and the Philippines, therefore the Spratlys will also be forming part now of Malaysia
correct,
because the Spratlys, including Palawan and Sabah, were annexed and given by the Sultan of Brunei as gifts eternal to the Sulu crown in 1658. And
Okay.
it is owned by the Sultan of Sulu. Now, if that is given to the Bangsamoro, and Bangsamoro is following order from Malaysia, therefore Malaysia is the winner, therefore Malaysia owns our Spratlys as well.
Prince Omar, do you consider yourself Bangsamoro?
That word was coined by Chairman Ur Miswari in the past.
Yes,
But somehow this Bangsamoro is not acceptable to so many people.
or do you consider yourself Tausug?
Well, Tausug mostly and Filipino, of course. Yes.
And the others like the Samals, the Maguindanaoans, the Maranaos. I mean, is it a conceptual framework or an identity which has really taken root, or this is just purely a synthetic fabrication? Bangsamoro, but they actually
It's propaganda.
or do they really or do they prefer to identify as hindi naman talaga ako Bangsamoro. I am Samal, I am
They
Tausug,
bastardize
I am
the word,
Maranao,
you know?
I am they're trying to create this theoretical construct in order to create in the final analysis to justify a substate.
Yes, well, I think it's
It's not even a sub-state anymore. Now it's a state.
Uh,
Right?
well,
They used to refer to it as a sub-state. Now they call it a state.
it quacks,
A state within a state.
as they say, it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it must
But
be.
wait, let me point out something here. There is a higher entity here that's at fault with all this, and we're studying this matter. We want to make them pay for it. The UK.
Okay,
The UK was the one behind all this,
of course,
right? The cession
yes,
that Malaysia calls it a cession. It is a lease.
Yes.
It cannot be a cession because it was leased to two individuals in a corporate entity, the British North Borneo Company.
Okay.
The Dent brothers, Alfred Dent, the UK Consul General in Hong Kong,
Yes.
and Baron Gustavus de Overbeck.
yes,
I mean, Baron Gustavus de Overbeck. Anyway, it could have not been seized to them. Cession means between two sovereign entities.
yes, yes.
These two are definitely not. And then they illegally transferred it to the UK. The UK knew
Malaysia.
this.
To Malaysia.
And then from the UK to Malaysia.
Yes.
Okay, so who is at fault here?
And besides, I think
Malaysia is the proxy of the UK anyway.
Besides, I think the United Kingdom recognized the sovereignty of the Sultanate,
Yes.
especially when the Americans were here. It was when the Americans left that this transfer from UK to Malaysia happened.
Yes.
Right.
Well, in January of 1882, Earl Granville, or Count Granville, his counterpart, who was the head of the UK's Foreign Office, stated that Overbeck and Dent did not acquire any sovereignty
Correct.
in North Borneo,
Yes.
and neither is the Crown of England
Yes.
acquired sovereignty.
Correct, that's true.
Right? Of which the sovereignty is still remained vested
Correct.
in the Sultan of Sulu.
And the American government also recognized the sovereignty.
Yes. In 1907, I'm going to jump now.
Yes, yes.
In 1907, the U.S. was taken aback to protest, right, the the continued administration of the British North Borneo Company in North Borneo or Sabah,
Okay.
because they stated that the sovereignty still remained vested in the Sultan of Sulu. In 1885, Overbeck and Dent went to the Royal Colonial Institute in London and stated under oath that they only acquired the lease of Sabah, and the Sultan of Sulu did not forfeit his sovereign rights on his property. This is on record, right? Now, in 1930, the UK and the US had an exchange of notes. You know, treaty could be agreement, convention, protocol,
Or
exchange of notes,
yes,
right?
Yes.
It's all treaty. So they had a treaty, and the U.S. allowed the continued administration of Sabah under Great Britain.
Okay.
But in 1946, when the British North Borneo Company transferred Sabah to Great Britain and it became a British Crown colony, Francis Burton Harrison, the former
Yes, yes.
Governor General,
In
right?
the Philippines, yes.
Who was an advisor of the Philippine president at the time, stood up and said, this is British political aggression. All right? Now, in July 1963, the so-called States of Malaysia signed the Malaysia Agreement, creating the Malaysian Federation, based on the Cobbold Commission report.
Yes.
But the Cobbold Commission report was a conspiracy, a deception by the Malaysian and British politicians.
Was there a referendum?
There was no referendum.
It was gunboat referendum.
Not only gunboat, it was a survey, because in 1962, in Sabah and Sarawak, there were 1.2 million people.
Okay.
And out of 1.2 million people, the Cobbold Commission sent, ladies and gentlemen, please listen,
Yes.
sent 2,200 letters as a survey asking them whether they like or not like to join the Federation of Malaysia. And according to this story, only half of those people polled, not,
Yes.
this is not referendum, no plebiscite.
Para palang SWS ito.
Yes.
Okay. And then,
No referendum. The Cobbold Commission, of course, under the dictates of the United Kingdom and Malaysian politicians, stated there was a referendum in all the state of Malaysia, including Singapore, Sarawak, and Sabah. There was no referendum whatsoever. In other words, the creation of the state of Malaysia was not only a deception, it was a conspiracy, right? It was a big lie and a fabrication. That's why Malaysia should be declared null and void today.
okay.
And in that time, the United Kingdom illegally